All right, let's jump right into this. For this explainer, we're going to unpack a pretty radical idea. What if the Quran isn't just a book of stories from the past? What if it's something else entirely? Like a living, breathing, operating system for reality itself. So this really all starts with one big question. What if a foundational text like the Quran wasn't meant to be just, read, like a history book? What if you're supposed to engage with it like it's an active, living piece of code? Because that one question, right there, is the key that unlocks this entire way of thinking. And this isn't some brand new take either. The framework we're exploring argues that the Quran actually describes itself this way, as a living messenger. The whole point, the big shift, is to stop treating it like a dusty old chronicle and start seeing it as a powerful tool for right now. Okay, so here's where it gets really, really interesting. Think about how most systems start. They begin with 1, and then you add another, so you get 2, and then 3, and so on. But this operating system, it doesn't start with 1. It boots up with 2, a pair of fundamental forces already in place. It starts with duality from the get-go.
And the system tells you this right up front. I mean, it's basically a declaration in its own source code. It says, "We created all things in pairs." Now, it's not talking about biology here, not just male and female. No, this is much deeper. This is the fundamental physics of how this reality is built.
So, to really get this, you have to picture these two opposing streams that are at the very heart of everything. On one side, you've got what's called Rahman, or boundless mercy. I mean, just imagine this endless field of pure potential, of grace, where anything is possible. And on the other side, you've got Razim, or firm command. This is the nuts and bolts of reality: structure, laws, consequences, cause and effect. But here's the catch, right? On their own, neither of these streams gives you any real guidance. I mean, think about it. Mercy without any limits? That's just a sea of potential with no justice, no structure. And what about just firm command? That's a world of unbending rules, just rigid, deterministic chaos with absolutely no grace. So how does the system fix this? Well, this is where the magic happens. It uses something called the dual caustic model. This is the point where those two opposing forces, mercy and command, come together. But, and this is absolutely crucial, it's not about compromise. They don't just meet in the middle. Instead, their tensions cancel each other out so perfectly that they produce one single point of exact, stable guidance. It's about precision, not compromise. Here's the best way to picture it. Imagine two waves traveling through water, coming from opposite directions. When they meet, they don't just create a smaller, jumbled wave. No, if they meet in exactly the right way, they can create a single, perfectly stable, motionless point. That's it. That fixed point of clarity, that is the guidance. It's a precise result that emerges from all that tension. Okay, so that leads to the obvious next question, right? What makes it all work? What's the catalyst, the operator that allows these two powerful forces to resolve into a point of truth instead of just, well, crashing into each other and canceling each other out into nothing? Well, according to this model, the operator isn't a person. It's a state of being. It's called Ahmed, and it's described as a functional orientation of love without sight. Now, hold on, this isn't about mushy feelings overriding logic. It's about the specific alignment, the orientation of the user of the system. That alignment is what allows the two forces to compute and produce a clear result.
And this table just lays it out perfectly. Look, if you're only tuned into the mercy channel, all you get is potential, but you can't actually do anything. If you're only on the command channel, you just get chaos and rigidity. It's only when you, the operator, bring that Ahmed orientation to the table that the system spits out a balanced, actionable truth. It's the key, the necessary third piece of the puzzle.
All right, so a system this elegant has to be robust, right? It can't just be for a one-time calculation. And that's exactly the point. It's designed to be eternally renewing. It has a built-in ability to self-correct, so it can provide clear guidance no matter what era you're in. And here's how it does it, through a kind of self-correcting protocol. So when an error or a misinterpretation gets into the system, it doesn't just crash. It does something called reseeding. It's like restarting a song from the original beat. The guidance gets restored, and the core code, the integrity of the whole thing, is kept perfectly intact. What's more, the code seems to have these built-in preservation locks. Certain key chapters act as symbolic reset points. You know the famous story of the sleepers of the cave, who were asleep for 309 years? Well, in this model, that's not just a historical tale. It's seen as a symbolic lock,
a mechanism that preserves the system's meaning and stops it from decaying over time.
So, okay, what's the practical result of all this? What do you actually get from using the system this way? Well, for starters, the guidance you receive is always exact, but it's also endlessly applicable to any situation. Any errors that creep in get reset without corrupting the core code, and the more you use it, the deeper the meaning gets. You get a system of justice that's firm, but never brittle or rigid. And all of this leads to the most important takeaway, the biggest shift in perspective of all. Think about it. With an operating system, you don't just read the source code, right? You run the program. In the same way, you don't just interpret this system, you instantiate it. You bring it to life inside you. And that moment of recognition, realizing the book is a living OS, that's the awakening. So, we're going to leave you with one final question to think about. What happens when you stop searching for a code that's hidden inside the Qur'an and you finally recognize that the Qur'an is the code, that it's alive, it's exact, and it's eternally renewing, right here and now?